Good morning, internet friend. My name is Yuvraj, and in today's video, I'm going to talk to you about the event schema and how you can add it to your pages and posts on your website using Schema Pro. Before we start, I'd highly encourage you to like this video because the content I'm going to cover in this video is going to be amazing. And also, you should subscribe to our channel Brainstorm Force because we create helpful videos just like this one for you guys. While you're at it, don't forget to hit that bell icon as well, because then you'll get notifications about all the great videos that we upload to our channel and you'll be the first one to watch them and increase your WordPress knowledge. So let's get started with the event schema. What is the event schema? As the name says, it's a schema or structured data related to, well, events. So what are the benefits of having the event type schema on your pages and posts? Let's make a few queries in Google and find out. So I made a simple search in Google for Billie Eilish upcoming concerts, and this is what I see. Some rich results from Google themselves, but also if I scroll down below, I can see the links to buy tickets on specific dates directly in the search results, not on just this query, but also in this query. This is just one example or one advantage of having the proper event type schema added to a page or post. Let me show you another example. If I search for hiking events near me, so I get a couple of basic results, but I also get rich results with the specific dates of the events happening in the search results directly. That is one more example of the event schema doing its magic in the search results. So let's also find out what Google has to say officially about the event type schema and its advantages in the search results. So this is the Google's official documentation of event type structured data. And let's say what Google has to say. So Google says the event experience on Google makes it easier for people to discover and attend events through Google search results and other Google products like Google Maps. And more specifically, Google is saying that you will appear in more interactive results and you have increased chances of discovery and conversion for your events. Those are quite compelling advantages of having the proper marked up data or event type schema on your pages and posts. And if you scroll down below, you'll find another advantage of the event schema, which is called the home activities. Now, with the difficult times that we are living in, more and more people are looking for activities to do at their homes. So if you add the appropriate event type schema to a page or post, then Google may automatically consider your page for a home activities result. And there's more information on this link right here. And I'll also add the link to this documentation page in the description of this video so you can check it out. Now let's get back to our website and see how to add the event type schema to a page or post. So I'm inside my website, and to start adding any kind of schema to a page or post, I have to go into Settings, Schema Pro, because that's the product I'm using to add the schema. So this is the first page that I'll see, which is the schema page. This is the page where I'll see all the types of schema that I've created. So I have some schemas already created as drafts, but since I'm going to add or create the event type schema, I'll click the Add New button to add a new type of schema. So this is the page where we choose the schema type that we're going to add to the page. In this case, it's the event type schema. So I'm going to choose the event and then click the Next button. Now these are the targeting options, and they help you decide on what pages the schema should go to. So to explain it better, let me give you some context on how Schema Pro works. Schema Pro works on a template-based system. So instead of having to manually create schema for each page and post, what you do is create a template for a particular type of schema, and then you tell Schema Pro on what pages and or posts that schema should be applied to. So since we chose the event type schema, now we are choosing on what pages and posts the event type of schema should go to. So these are the options that help us tell Schema Pro on what pages and posts it should add the event type schema. So I have two types of options to choose from, or two types of targeting rules. I have the inclusion options and I have the exclusion options. So whatever rules I apply here, all the pages that qualify for under those rules will get the schema, and all the pages and posts that qualify for the exclusion rules will not get the schema. So you have complete control over what pages, posts, taxonomies get the schema and what pages, posts, taxonomies don't get the schema. Let me show you the options available and it will become more clear to you. So let me open up the enable on or the inclusion options by clicking the drop down right here. And these are the rules that I have access to. So I can add the schema to all singulars, that means all the pages and posts on my website, the front page of my website, all the posts on my website, all the pages on my website, or I can choose specific targets, which includes specific types of pages, posts, custom post types, or taxonomies. So I have complete control, and I can add the schema to a single page, a single taxonomy, or all the singulars on my website. So in this particular case, I already have a category on my website which is called events. So I want to choose that category. So I'll choose the specific pages, posts, archives option. And then I have a search box, and I'll just search in events. And Schema Pro has come up with the result that events is a category. That's why I'm saying all singulars from events. So if I select this option, now it has been added to the specific rule. Now that means all the posts inside the events category will get the event type schema that we are creating right now. I hope that makes sense. Now let's move on to the next option by clicking the next button. Alright, the process is now complete. So let's complete the setup process and move on to the next steps. So this is the edit schema page. Here you can edit everything about the schema, including the options you just configured. So let me tell you all the options that are present on the page. The first option is the event name, the schema name. So as you can see, the default name is added as event, but I can change it. I have the option to change the name altogether or add some additional information to it. The idea is that you can have multiple templates for the same schema type. For example, you might have two different kinds of event type schemas for different kinds of events. So you would name them appropriately. So this option will help you differentiate the different kinds of schema, even if they are using the same schema template. The next option is the targeting options that we just discussed, and the options are exactly the same that we configured in the previous step. And I have the option of changing, adding, editing, and doing all sorts of stuff to the targeting options from this page. Moving on to the next section, which is the schema fields. So this is the most important option. This is where we tell Schema Pro what kind of information we want to add to the schema. With the event type schema, as you can see, there are a lot of different options to configure, but it's not actually complicated. It's pretty simple to do. And with Schema Pro, the process is even simpler. So I'll teach you, or I'll tell you everything about how to configure these. But first, let me tell you about the accompanying blog post that will help you understand the process as well as the fields better. So the link to the blog post is always on the top of the schema fields. Here it is. So if I click this link, so as I click the link, the blog post will open up in a new tab. And all the steps that I've been telling you about are also outlined in this blog post, including a detailed description of all the fields that you'll need to configure for each schema type. So this is the important thing that I was talking about. If at any point, if you're not sure what to add in a specific field inside the schema, you can refer to this blog post. I'll add the link to this blog post in the description as well. Let's get back to our website and I'll tell you all about how to configure the options in the schema. So as I mentioned earlier, there are a lot of different options to configure, but it's not complicated. It's actually very simple, and most of the fields are pretty self-explanatory, so it's not very hard to understand what to put in those fields. But I'll still explain what you need to put in these fields. So first things first, before we get into the specifics of how to configure these settings, you need to know that there are two types of fields in every kind of schema. You have mandatory fields, which are highlighted and with a red asterisk at the end of the field. And you have recommended fields, which are not highlighted. So as the name suggests, the mandatory fields are mandatory to be put in, or they need to be filled in properly for the schema to be valid. The recommended fields can be left empty, but if you fill them properly, then your schema is considered more complete by Google, and you might have some additional benefits to completing all those parts. But to qualify for results, all the mandatory fields have to be filled in. So now let's talk about the fields themselves. What I'm going to do is give you a quick overview of the fields here, and then we'll go to the post, and that is where I'll explain the fields, and you'll understand why when we get to the post. So you have the event type option, and if you click the drop down, you'll see all the different kinds of events Schema Pro supports, and you can choose any of these events and whatever is closest to the event that you're hosting. If you can't find the event type that represents your event closely, just choose the events general field. That's perfect as well. Next, you have the name field, which is mapped to the title of the post. Again, you probably need some context to understand what I just said. I said the name has been mapped to the title of the post. So let me explain what I mean. So how Schema Pro works is that instead of you having to add all the data required for the schema to be valid manually, Schema Pro can refer to many of those fields using the website, post, or page metadata. As you can see in this case, the name was mapped to the title of the post, which is a post metadata. And if I click the drop down menu, I'll see all the fields or all the metadata types that I have access to, which I can map to any of the fields. So this is just one of those ways where Schema Pro can automate a lot of the schema creation process, and it saves you time and effort. So for the event type, I'll just leave it to the title because that makes the most sense right now. Next, you have the description field where you describe the event and which is mapped to the content of your post. Next, you have the image or logo for the event, which is mapped to the featured image of your page or post. The next option is the event status. So the status is not something that you can type in manually. It has to be chosen from a set of predefined values, which is present right here. If I click this drop down menu, you'll see all the options that the status field supports. So I have the option of choosing none, scheduled, rescheduled, postponed, moved online, or cancelled. I'll just keep it at scheduled for now. The next option is attendance mode. Now, since we are living in difficult times, not all events can be conducted in person. That's why Google recently added the attendance mode field in the schema, which lets you select if the event is in a physical location, an online event, or a mix of both. So I'll just keep it at an online event for now. But if you choose a physical location, then you'll have some additional options to configure, which will be the location and the street address. And I'll show you those fields on the post itself. For simplicity, I'll just keep it to the online event only. Then you have a start date option, which represents when does the event start. The next option is the end date. And both of these fields I'll tell you or show you how to configure on a post, because these won't be standard for all the posts, only specific to a single type of post. The next is the online event URL. So if the event is online, so where does the event take place? Maybe is it a Google Meet, or is it a Zoom meeting, or any other platform? Then you can add the link here. And right now it's mapped to the permalink. So the assumption is that whatever page or post this schema is being added on is the same page where the event will take place if it's an online event, but you can change this on the post, which I'll show you. The next is the availability option. Again, are the tickets available? Is it out of stock? Pre-order? I'll show you these options on the page itself. The price is the event attendance price. Next is the currency. What is the currency of the price that we just talked about? Valid from when does the offer start? For example, if you're starting to sell tickets, then when does that start to happen? Next is the online ticket URL. Where can people buy tickets from? You have to enter the URL. Next is the performer. Who's performing in the event? The next is the organizer name. If there's a specific kind of organizer, you can add the name, and also in the next field, you can add the URL of the organizer. So as you saw, there are a lot of different types of fields, but as I said, most of them are self-explanatory. They're not very complicated to understand. So now what I'm going to do is first save this schema, and then I'll head on to a specific page or post in the event category, because that is where the schema will be added to, and I'll show you how it is configured, or how the schema is configured on a particular page or post. So let's do that. So I saved the schema, and now I'm inside a page in my website talking about a specific event, which is a Billie Eilish concert, continuing with the example that I showed you earlier. So I have a featured image set. It's a normal post, which is a little bit of information, not a very comprehensive post. So this is what you see on a regular post. And if you want to see the schema or how it's added to the page by Schema Pro, all you have to do is scroll down to the bottom of the page. And here you'll see all the fields that we were just talking about. So let's continue talking about the fields and how they're mapped. So as you can see, some of the fields have this link-based icon, and these are the fields that have been linked to or are mapped to a specific variable or metadata on your post itself. So the event type, we've already said it. The description is the content of the post. The name or the event name is the title of the post, and the image or the logo is the featured image of the post. The rest of the fields were set to custom fields. That means we have to fill in that information because the events are not standard. Every event has different information, so we cannot standardize that process and add the same information to every page or post, or every page or post talking about a different event. So coming back to some of the fields, let me quickly go through the fields so that you are up to date on what to add to the fields when you're using the event type schema. So these fields I already covered. Let's go to the status, which is scheduled. The attendance mode is online. And if I select a physical location, I have to add these street address, postal code, country, and region as well. And now you might be wondering, why are some fields in red while some fields are in black? Because Schema Pro is smart enough to understand when a mandatory field is being left empty. As you can see, the start date, street address, postal code, country, and region are mandatory fields, and right now they're empty. That's why Schema Pro is warning you, hey, don't leave this empty or schema will not be valid on your website or this post. So I'll currently move back to the online event, and let's start adding in the actual information for this particular event, and then you'll understand how to configure this. For the start date, what I'll do is click here and I'll see a date picker. So I'll just pick a date for tomorrow and it's automatically added to the start date field. For the end date, I'll do the same. I'll just select a date 2 days in the future, and that is also set. Coming to the next field, which is the online event URL. So as I mentioned, if this is an online event, you have to specify where the event is taking place. So Schema Pro assumes that the page or post that you're adding the schema on is the place where the event will take place. That's why it maps the existing field to permalink of this particular post. But you have the option of changing it completely. All you have to do is click this cross icon and the field will become editable. And all you have to do is just paste in the actual link where the event is taking place. So just for simplicity, what I'm going to do is type in https google.com, just for simplicity. The next option is the availability field. Again, this is not a field where you should be entering fields into. You have to select the option from a drop-down field. So just click this button or click the drop-down menu and see all the options. You'll see have the option selecting discontinued, in stock, in store only, and a bunch of other options. So choose the one that is most appropriate for this. So online only, so I'll just click this. Makes sense in this regards. Next is the price. Let's keep it to 200. The currency to US dollars. Valid from, when does the event or when does this offer is valid from. So I'll select today's date because it's valid from today. The next option is online ticket URL. So I already have the link copied to my clipboard. So I'll just paste the link here. The performer is Billie Eilish. So I'll just type that in. The organizer name. So if the event is being organized by an organization, you can enter the name here and also the URL of the organization. So I'll just add a name of a big organizer, which is called Live Nation, and they're a huge event organizer. So I'll just paste the name here and also the URL of their website here. So now, as you can see, all the fields have been completely filled in, and all I have to do is now update the post and refresh it so that the changes are saved. So I'm going to do that. Okay, so I saved the page and I also refreshed the page, and you might have noticed that Schema Pro was giving me a warning about the start date. It was in red. So if you see that and you already have filled in the information, just make sure that your post is updated and saved and refresh your page and it will be fine. So there's only one step that remains, which is to test this schema. So what I'm going to do is open this particular post in the front end of my website, and then we'll test the schema. Okay, so this is my post that I've opened up in the front end of my website, and this is how the users or the visitors coming to my website will see the page or post. So now I want to check if the schema is being added properly to this page or post. So the regular process is to open the Google Rich Snippet Testing tool, but Schema Pro makes that process even simpler. It adds a test schema button right here, which saves you a bunch of time, because if you click this link right here, it will open up the Google Rich Snippet Testing tool and paste in the link of the post that we were just on, and also start the analyzing process. So you don't have to do any of that manually. Okay, Google has now completed checking the page, and as you can see, the page is eligible for rich results, and Google has detected the events type schema with Billie Eilish concerts as being the heading. So if I want to see the details, all I have to do is click the drop down menu and I can see all the details the Schema Pro added to the schema being detected by Google completely without errors or even warnings. And that's pretty amazing, right? It was so easy to add such a complicated type of schema to your pages or posts using Schema Pro. So that was pretty easy, right? So I hope now you see how easy it is to add schema to any page or post of your website, no matter how complex the actual schema code is, especially looking at the event type schema. It's pretty complicated if you look at the code, but Schema Pro takes that process and makes it very easy. So you can add the event type schema to any page or post and customize it to your needs. With that, we've come to the end of this video. I hope you liked this video and the information was useful to you. If you found any of this information helpful, don't hesitate to leave a like on this video. Make sure that you're subscribed to Brainstorm Force, because I want you to be knowledgeable about all things WordPress, and that is the content that we create on a regular basis. While you're subscribing, also hit that bell icon so that you get notifications about whenever we upload new videos on the channel. And if you have any questions about anything that I talked about in this video, make sure to leave a comment on this video and we'll help you as quickly as possible. Before you go, make sure to check out Schema Pro by heading to wpschema.com. It's a wonderful product, beautiful product that helps you create schema and add it to your Pages Post website. Very easy to use. Also check out some other products that we make. We make the Astra theme and a bunch of other WordPress products that are amazing. Once again, my name is Yuvraj and I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you in the next one. Till then, take care.